Hello, everybody, and welcome to Declutter Me, a podcast about organizing and decluttering your life. And hey, Shelina, how's it going?
Hi, Shirak. How are you?
I am okay. How are you?
I'm good. Only okay. Why only okay?
I think because it's getting warmer. I'm trying to conserve energy now. I've reached that phase of my favorite time of the year.
We are sitting in a room with aircon though.
Yeah, I'm just talking generally. The vibe is it's getting hotter outside.
Yeah. No, that's weird. We don't have that issue like we used to have in the old days where it used to be just warm and you constantly felt warm and had to change tops over this. Yeah, we can go in and out of aircon really, which is bad.
Shelina, that's only because it's only March. Or, well, April now, I guess. Losing track of the time.
It's April.
It is April, I know. But it's only because it's April. Give it another month and we will be doing that.
Okay. Maybe, yeah. Anyway.
It's April.
Talking of April.
Yeah.
It's Ramadan soon.
It is.
It's that glorious time of the year where I fast, but I whinge about it for the whole month, except for the 1 week, which I never make up for. I am terrible.
This episode is taking a different turn. Okay, so we're going to talk about Ramadan.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Ramadan.
Let's pull this back a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk. Let's go back.
So Ramadan's coming up in a couple of weeks, right? And so we thought it would be interesting to kind of gear up for it and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So, and why we know that Ramadan's coming up is because there have been so many adverts in online stores, Facebook adverts, and in shops in malls and stuff about Ramadan. And it's become like the new Christmas here. And you know, if you don't know much about Ramadan, it's a month of taking a step back, focusing more on prayer and spirituality, being less materialistic, you know. So, you know, we fast during the day, we eat at night. Now we talk about eating less and being less materialistic, but then of course there's iftar tents here, which were, you know, before COVID were ridiculous. It was getting to the point of gluttony at night.
And not to mention the amount of food wastage that was happening because of it. Yeah.
And a lot of people were complaining about that. And I had stopped going to iftar tents unless it was serve on the table kind of food, or they had a mission to, you know, not do food wastage, because I would see people with piles of plates and it would just disgust me. And when you've been fasting, especially by the end of the month, your stomach sort of shrinks because you're eating so less. You don't want to eat much by the time you can eat at iftar, you know, when the sun sets. So it is more about conserving yourself and just taking time to reflect on yourself and on your friends and family and on the year. Right. It's not about being materialistic. But we've been seeing this gradually more and more, that there are, you know, things to buy for Ramadan. Now, you know, we talked about the food aspect of Ramadan, and we can put that in the show notes. You know, we talk about the decluttering.
Yeah, sort of organizing the kitchen and the pantry and prepping in that sense of Ramadan, because obviously there is a food component to it in terms of breaking the fast and the iftar and everything else.
And there's been always those special offers, like in supermarkets, like buy in bulk, like 5 bottles of oil, because of course you need, and 20 packets of pasta, which is obscene, you know. Right. But this is different. This is like crockery. Yeah. Get special Ramadan collection crockery. It's all a Ramadan collection. So there's crockery and teapots, because of course you're going to make lots of more karak chai than normal during Ramadan, even though we eat and drink less. Pens. There's also disposable stuff. So there's plates and napkins and lanterns and things to put up everywhere for Ramadan. And it's you know, in just this week, and I mentioned it to you before, and that's why I wanted to talk about it today, it was just, I had seen so many adverts that it's just become obscene for me. And, you know, and I have seen it at people's houses now, to the point that I've had to start creating boxes, you know, like you do for Christmas decorations, but this is like Ramadan decorations. The problem is a lot of people they want to use new decorations each year. Whereas with Christmas, you know, people usually reuse a lot of their stuff. And that's not happening with Ramadan, because there's so much new stuff coming out that people are like, oh, I want to get the new stuff. So we wanted to talk about that, and I don't know how to be delicate about this other than to say, stop it. Like, this is clutter.
Yeah.
But maybe you can be more delicate than I can. But I'm finding it very against the ethos of Ramadan.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think it's an interesting situation overall. As you correctly said, I think, by the way, when you say like it feels like another Christmas, I think that's true like all through the year now.
Yeah.
Right now, there's always something. Valentine's Day gets the same amount of treatment weeks beforehand. Easter, Halloween, right? I mean, I've seen Thanksgiving ads here, and I'm like, well, we're not in the US. Like, we don't really have Thanksgiving.
Bizarre.
But you see that happening 2 weeks before Thanksgiving and stuff. So there is a lot of this idea that like just throwing a reason to create the sale, whether you call whatever you call that, or however that can be phrased, has become a problem. Has become a pretty big one. That's one part of this whole thing, and I think that should ideally just stop anyway.
Yeah.
Because now we just we finish one thing and we're looking for the next one. And we're not leaving it for. I can understand why the end of the year, let's put it that way, may be a good cause for being like, hey, out with the old, in with the new, or whatever else theme you want to run in December.
Yeah.
But now it's become like, okay, well, if that's creating a bump in sales, let's keep doing it. And I think that purposefulness is a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's not limited to Ramadan, but of course we see it now a lot. I mean, this idea of it always amused me that Ramadan was the best time to buy a car because all the cars would go on sale.
Yeah.
Right, and you'd just be like, it's an odd reason to create the big bumper sale of the year, right?
Yeah.
Like, so there's a lot of this stuff I think that's there, and so not only do we, I think I'm sure you want to tell people to be like, hey, be careful, not to get swooped into that.
Yeah.
But I think I would love to tell the companies like, let's be a little bit more purposeful with what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily there's a better way, but there's no harm in trying to do that if you're a grocery and it's kind of working with people to say, hey, we've created a Ramadan collection for you, a Ramadan basket for you, if that's something you want to do, although with limitation, again, not like 20 boxes of pasta and 20 jars of pasta sauce or whatever it is that they do, right? And then those kind of collections.
Oh, there's because they always have like Arabic themed, calligraphy and design. I've seen furniture pieces, so you can get poofs and tables and trays, especially for your Ramadan. Pens I saw recently, lamps. There is anything you can think of, there will be a Ramadan collection for it. And some of it is nice, and yes, you could add it to your home for aesthetic reasons, because some of it is pretty. I have a cake stand that I use to put bits and pieces on my kitchen counter, and I got it. It's part of a Ramadan collection I got from last year when it was on sale after Ramadan, but it was because I liked it, because it aesthetically it was lovely. So there is that, but when it's everything out there in each shop is a Ramadan collection, then I think that's a bit disconcerting and a bit much, and it's an overload for people. So if you are, and it must be getting overwhelming. I mean, if I could see it and I thought it was a bit too much, imagine what it would be like for other people. So think about whether you need to buy those things, whether it's applicable to your life. Do you need to get disposable Ramadan plates just because you're going to have guests over? Can you not use normal plates? Do you need to waste that money? Could you use that money for another thing? Whether it's for yourself personally, or as Ramadan is very much about donating. We give zakat, so we give money and charity. It's more a charitable month. We do a lot of donations. So people do that. They do a lot of decluttering and then donate. And there'll be big initiatives in malls about donating stuff. So think about that. Instead of spending this money to buy these things just for Ramadan, what about saving that money and giving it to charity, or buying food, those bulk buy food items because they're going to be in the supermarkets, and giving that to the food banks. And there are food banks across the world now currently, which is sad because, of what's happened to COVID, and so many people have lost jobs, and, the poverty line has become so much bigger. In the UK, watching what's happening there to people is devastating. So instead of buying into these Ramadan collections, could you buy food and donate to the food banks there, or in the US, or even here we've got food banks now. Think about things that you can do in that sense. And I feel like I might be sounding condescending or
no, but I think it's like you said, it's a little bit, maybe you can't be really super delicate about it, but at the same time you kind of you have to be real about it, right? Like, because I've been the other side of this as you're talking is also like, I mean, if you're buying something that is going to be a limited use, I mean, we've talked a little bit more about sustainability recently and the waste and all of that stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, okay, why don't you buy this like whole set of plastic plates because they're on discount?
Yeah.
And it's you have to kind of start thinking about this stuff as well, because you are leaving an impact, whether you like it or not. So, and it's something to think about, and it's not, and yes, I'd like people to think about that all year round, but especially when you're doing it at a time that is meant to be internal and spiritual and all of that, and then you're just kind of discarding everything else, and it's a bit of a, like you said, it's not exactly keeping with the theme or the ethos of what's going on either. Yeah.
And I'm finding, and I have had a lot of clients in the last few years, and especially coming up to now to Ramadan, that they've said to me, oh, these plates are just for Ramadan, or this bowl or this serving thing is just for Ramadan. And there is that because it's for big serving plates, because, usually people have families come over. I mean, less so this year, but, there's usually, big parties.
People get together, that's
people
the
get together and stuff.
Yeah.
So that I can understand. But when there's special plates and, crockery and things, that I think is, use that all year. Why save it just for Ramadan? It might go out of fashion eventually if you only use it once a year. And plus it's taking up valuable real estate in your kitchen or in your pantry or wherever you store, in your dining room. So think about that as well. Are these items taking up valuable real estate in your house? If you're only using it once a year for a few weeks, it doesn't make sense. If you can use it moving forward, then that's great. But think about the real estate, and it's always think about that real estate in your house.
I think that's the big thing, because we were talking about things that do take up significant room, and we were talking about crockery and stuff. It's not one plate, right? No. Like I said, it's a set of things. Number one. So that's something to think about, of course. I mean, when you're talking about the big ones, and I do understand that there are different people have different like spaces in their houses and different storage rooms, so allowing and accounting for all of that. But if you have something that you can only pull out, like it's a 15-person thing, whatever, but that 15-person meal is only happening one time and during Ramadan, it's not happening every day. Ramadan,
exactly.
Whatever. Is it really worth it having that? Can you figure out a better solution so that you don't just have something that's sitting there that you pull out one time out of the closet? Because I think that there is something to that you should think about.
Exactly. And I mean, you're right. It's a one-off thing, or twice in a month. Yeah. Then it's not worth it. And you can donate those things to the mosque, so they will use them. I'm not sure what they're doing this year about.
They're not allowed to.
They're not allowed doing them. So before they were doing these iftar kind of tents and by mosque for workers and things.
This year the instruction, as if at least for us here, is that they can't do that, but they are arranging for drives to get food to the labor accommodations and stuff as well. So that's their way of kind of dealing with that, as opposed to having people congregate, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and it makes much more sense. And that's the other thing. So the last 2 years, we haven't had proper Ramadan. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I think the likelihood of having big congregations of people is going to be less so, isn't it, really?
But this year for sure, yeah.
So that, you need to, think about that as well then, like for future. We've gone through this for 2 years, and what's going to happen in the future? Will you need 20 plates just for Ramadan only? But anyway, so we've said it enough, I think.
I think so.
So, but let us know what you think about all these these Ramadan collections, and if you're outside of the Middle East, are you seeing that as well? I've seen a few things in the UK, but are they in other countries as well? It'll be good to see what is out there, and if it is becoming as big a thing as it is here.
I think like you said, I think a little purpose behind it is always a good thing to have. This is not us saying like don't buy stuff for Ramadan. We're saying just be a bit more purposeful about it. Is it really something you will use? Is it a one-off thing? Is it plastic and other things that you're just going to dump? I mean, these are all nice. These are all good things to think about. One, food, as you mentioned, I think is a good one, which is to say, like, you're going to see food in bulk. Don't have to run for it. We have access to stuff here. We're in a good place, at least here in Dubai.
Because I mean, whenever you run out of anything, you can order it online, and it will come. Like some places now, it comes the same day or within a few hours. Or there's a supermarket literally around the corner, which I think we mention nearly every podcast, every other podcast. So, and it's in every country now.
Anyway, okay, so that's it for us for this week. And we'll in advance want to wish everybody a happy Ramadan and Ramadan Kareem, and we'll see you guys next week.
Okay, bye.